Hey everybody, welcome back. We are joined today by Susanne Post, who I'm thinking a whole bunch of you have already seen in her really well done education on domestic violence. Not only do I know that our numbers are really high for people who have completed it, but I keep seeing it on our Instagram story. I mean, it's every day someone posting how grateful they are to have this education. And while we made the choice to do it because Tennessee was going to require their licensees, what we've discovered is everyone's taking it, everyone's interested, and I feel really good about that. So welcome back, Susanne. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm doing well.
Yeah, things we're leading up to Thanksgiving. As we're recording this, you probably see this a little bit after Thanksgiving, but we're certainly in the holiday season. And one of the things that I find really important about discussing this right now is we are back at a really stressful time. People are getting new rules put in place, getting lockdowns put back into place. Kids are going, as we just talked about, back into online school. So your kids are back home. And on top of it, it's already a stressful time of year. You know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever holiday you celebrate, you're supposed to be having people in your home. That's the way you do it, or you're supposed to go to someone else's house, which I think you can speak to. That's a really dangerous time for women in a situation of domestic violence.
Sadly, it is. You know, the holidays are usually a joyful, they're a stressful period of time, but it's also usually a time that we are, celebrating. And right now, especially with the COVID lockdowns, it feels really heavy for a lot of us. And if people are in an abusive relationship, often they're just simply not safer at home.
Yeah.
It's a very extra challenging time for people that are in abusive relationships.
I saw a report today on the news that reports of child abuse are going down, but that doesn't mean child abuse is going down. It means that the abuse is not being noticed by people like teachers, people who might have already noticed it. And one of the things that was really struck me, and maybe you can address this, that the expert they had on the news talked about was that a lot of the distractions also that an abuser might have don't exist anymore. Their favorite sports aren't playing regularly, or they don't have that outlet of going to, let's say, a sports bar and watching a game that they would normally be distracted by, that kind of thing. So now not only are we squishing everyone in the same home and bringing all the kids back in, but now we're taking away all of, a good portion of the distractions. And I never really thought about that.
Wow, that's a really interesting thing to note, that I had not read that, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's hard. There's not those distractions that might normally kind of divert someone's attention.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's awful.
It really made me think, I mean, I have had that moment, I live in Kansas City. We had a Super Bowl team last year. And I remember thinking, as down as everybody was in the game when they thought we were going to lose, that we might just have a bad moment if we lost the game. In some households, that might be a really dangerous moment. And so I really feel good about what we did. So tell me some of the feedback you've gotten.
Oh, it's been just overwhelming. I'm just grateful that it's touched as many people that clearly needed it around the world. I've received messages from all pockets of people that are just, giving me feedback about how it's given them pieces of the puzzle that have helped them to support a sister who's in need, or one of their best friends, or even sharing really intimate stories of their own journey. Yeah. And how it's personally impacted them. Of course, with clients as well, they're saying, I've seen people behind the chair that I knew were in a situation, but just didn't know quite how to support. So it's been overwhelming, and I'm so grateful.
What's the most common question that you've gotten that maybe wasn't answered in the video, and that's why it became a question that you would want to address? The most common thing you feel like you're repeating, or maybe it's just you addressed it in the video, but people need to hear it differently. What's the most common one of those?
I feel like a lot of people have just been giving feedback about how pervasive this issue really is. You know, a lot of people that are just saying, I didn't know how big an issue it was, or I'm just so grateful that people are talking about it. You know, it sounds like people really were just hungry for the conversation. The more we're able to take stigma away from any big issue like this, it's almost like a sigh of relief for a lot of people to be able to just start opening up that conversation and to feel heard.
Right. So basically, I think what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is that the biggest thing that somebody can do, even if they haven't gone on and watched the video, let's say this is their first, they didn't see the first half of this and they didn't go online to take the course, and which, by the way, is free of charge at barbicide.com. And that's BARBICIDE. That's the most common question we get, is how do you spell your name? If they haven't done that first part, if this is their first moment seeing you or hearing you, that to understand that what this is about is not making somebody responsible for somebody else. It is making them responsive to somebody else. Is that kind of how you would put it?
Absolutely. And I will say one tidbit that I feel like I've given quite a bit in feedback is that the hotlines, the crisis lines that we provide in the training, we provide national here in the US as well as international resources for people to be able to access. And that these resources are for them as well. Like if you are observing things that just don't feel right, or you don't quite know how to respond, you don't have to be the counselor. And there are tools that are for you as well. Like you can call and have a conversation with a counselor and find out what you should do to respond, how you should respond. So that's something that we have really tried to emphasize, is these tools are for you as well. Like, yes, you can pass them to someone else, but you can call them.
Right, because I feel like I've seen quite a few posts where somebody said, I was a victim and I sought help, or I feel like I saw one or two where people said, you know, this opened my eyes to what wasn't right in my life. You know, I think oftentimes we know that there's a cycle that things go through, that children that are abused sometimes abuse their own children, which doesn't make sense, but that is the way the world is, that if you only know one thing, you do what you know or what you think is best. And so if you, let's say, were raised in a home where there was abuse and now you're in a home where there's abuse, it may feel normal to you.
Right.
And so the goal of this also was to open people's eyes to the fact that's not normal. If you're afraid in your own home ever, that's not normal. And you shouldn't have to live that way. And so I feel like we saw that. You made an interesting comment about international. How did you I mean, I know I talked to Charlotte about, you know, where we were seeing responses from, and she was like, it's incredible. It's all over the world.
It's blown my mind. I can't believe how many people we've touched and how many pockets of the globe, from, you know, all over Europe to, of course, all over the US and Canada, but Africa and Australia. We've been all over the place, Malaysia. So it's exciting. I'm just so grateful that it's touched as many people as it has.
It's sad, obviously, that we have to have that conversation all over the world, but it feels good that we could have that conversation. So is there any do you have any other education that you think you guys will be putting out? Any follow-up? Is there anything that you learned from what you did this time that you want to add on, you know, that you're thinking of any additional? I know for us, we're always talking about what other education can we give somebody. And is there anything else you guys are thinking about doing right now?
I'll say that the training is intended to be concise. So it's only a 20-minute training, which is fantastic. I think it's not overwhelming for someone who just wants an introduction. I have received some feedback from people that say they would love for it to be a little bit longer, that they would love more detailed information, or for states that do require the hour certification, you know, some people would love that option as well. And
So
so
know that we're happy to host that at any time, because I saw
wonderful.
a post. There was only one, but I saw a post that somebody put that they would like, or maybe it was an email. I can't remember how I saw it, but it was they would love training on how to deal with their own anger. You know, like how
Mhm.
do I deal with being stuck back at home? My kids are back at home in online school. My family's supposed to be coming. You know, maybe somebody's unemployed in my house. I feel angry and I don't want to take it out on somebody else. And so maybe there's that kind of stuff that, you know, we can do moving forward.
Absolutely.
Because I
And
think it's normal to feel that way.
oh, absolutely. I would love to see an expansion of our training at some point.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate you guys being so open to be that voice and be that support, not just within the industry, but anybody can access this training. And so to have a free tool like this out there that anyone that's in need could take is so exciting to me.
And then I just want to one more time for people who haven't done it, haven't gone and done the class, out of the things that are in that video that we did, the short 20 minutes, what is the number one takeaway that they should, if someone doesn't go and do it, they don't want to take the time or uh, whatever, what is the number one takeaway of that training that somebody, or the top two things, whatever, however you want to address that?
I would say the top two things that I would like to address would just be how big a problem is. One in four women, approximately 1 in 7 men will experience domestic violence at some point. So really and truly just being open to be a friend, to listen to people if they come to you, if they feel comfortable enough with you to share something intimate like that, knowing that it's a big enough problem that likely it's true.
Right.
Sadly, it's true. And also just knowing that if someone is in need, there are so many wonderful resources out there. I know it can be really isolating if you're in an abusive relationship or if someone you know is, and knowing that there's resources out there. And as a friend, it can take up to 7 times for someone to actually leave their abuser. It's such a complicated situation with so many often scary elements in place
Right.
that as a friend, it's easy to get frustrated if you see someone attempt to leave and
Go back.
sadly not be successful. Yeah, go back. And just keeping that door of that communication open so that someone feels safe to continue coming back to you if you are that trusted person in their life. Not getting judgmental about it, just having grace for what they're going through. And
I
so,
think it is important, your point of getting frustrated with a friend, because I think it's important to remember, you know, women always have this adage about weight. You know, you didn't gain the 20 pounds overnight, you're not going to lose it overnight. But
right,
it's so true about so many things in life. And for somebody to get to the point where they are allowing someone to abuse them, you know, that they're internalizing that as normal in their world, has taken a long time to get there. Someone didn't just walk in the first day. Nobody would, you know, stay for that. If the first time you met somebody that, you know, that they were abusive to you, but most abusers have groomed you to be you know, they've whittled away at your self-esteem, or they've whittled away at the guards you would normally have up, so in such a well-crafted manner, just a little bit at a time, that eventually them actually physically harming you seems okay or normalized or acceptable, right? And so it's undoing all those months, years of getting to that spot, which is what makes somebody try to leave and keep going back, right? That is the cycle, as I understood it from your 20 minutes. That's what I heard someone saying. I heard you saying is that it takes a long time to get to the place where you're accepting that as normal in your life, or as tolerable in your life. It takes a long time to go backwards. So don't lose patience.
exactly.
Hang
Being
in there with
patient with
somebody.
yourself and being patient with someone you might be in touch with that is in harm's way. Absolutely. That's exactly it.
So as we go into the holiday season, I'm super excited that we're getting to the end of the year more than anything. I think I can speak for everybody. New Year's Eve is going to be like a big deal in my own head, even though probably nothing will change. Maybe we'll have a vaccine by then or something like that. But as we go into the holiday season, any tips for somebody who might be listening, who might be in a situation that is dangerous or scary, or even right there on the verge of, leaving? Any tips about how to manage during this time frame?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say,
And you can give out your resources if you want here. This is a moment if you have those resources.
the biggest thing that most counselors are going to tell people is to create safety plans. And so really working with a professional. There are text lines available. There are hotlines available, crisis lines that you can call. None of them will report anything. You can call and just have a conversation with someone about what that looks like in each individual situation. A lot of it is about gathering documents, maybe thinking through options of where you might go or who you might call if you end up in that crisis moment. So as much as anything, I would just say really familiarize yourself with the resources and know that they're available 24/7.
I saw something on the internet, and I don't mean to put you on the spot because you may not have heard of this, but it's something about, and I don't know the whole story, but it's something about ordering a pizza. Do you know this?
Okay, I've
Rick?
recently heard about this,
Yeah.
but I had never heard about that before.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
And well, what I read is that if I can't remember who you call, if you call the police department and say, I want to order a pizza, or if you
Yes,
call 911 and say you want to order a pizza, that's sort of a known symbol to them that something's dangerous is about to happen in your house. And so
that's
it's a safety word, if you will, that you can call any type of 911 or police department and say, I want to order a pizza. And they're supposed to, I don't know that they'll all know that, but I read it on the internet that was kind of a growing thing, because if your abuser's in the room all the time, you can't call the police, but you could call the police. You could call the police department and say, I want to order a pizza. And they would, because then they would naturally ask you, what's your address? And then you can give it to them, right? Because you have to give the pizza place an address to bring your pizza to. And that is a way to get help if something bad is happening in your home. So I thought that was kind of crafty. I'm sure, people who have been in that situation came up with this great idea of a way that you could give your address without it being obvious.
That's brilliant.
So,
I need to research that.
yeah.
Someone mentioned it recently, and I have not honestly researched it much, but that's brilliant.
Yeah, so maybe if we all figure out what the pizza thing is, we can put it up on our website and on our social media. We'll reflect back on what the pizza thing is, but I just happened to see it in passing, and it made me think of this whole conversation and you. So I really appreciate your time, Susanne. If you ever want to do any other education around, violence in the home in general, and how that message sometimes ends up with your client who's sitting in the chair, or it could be you standing behind the chair that needs to hear that message, whether it has to do with violence between a couple or even with children, any of that. If you ever want to do it, our space is open to you. We feel really honored that you allowed that big message to come through us as a vehicle. So thank you so much.
For your partnership.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if there's anything that we can ever do, let us know. And keep, sending us information. As you hear things that you think would be important, we will post them on our social media outlets.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.